You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week.
Hello everyone, I'm Walt Gray, and you're watching ABC10 This Week. Opening statements began this week in the Sacramento K Street mass shooting trial. ABC10 was inside the courtroom. In dollars and cents, market swings rattle retirement plans, but an advisor tells us, don't panic, what you need to know to protect your money. And we hit the back roads. John Bartel takes us to Kettleman City, the home of a very unlikely tourist attraction. ABC10 This Week starts right now.
Four years ago this month, gunfire shattered downtown Sacramento. The shooting on K Street happened early the morning of April 3rd. 6 people were killed, ages 21 to 57. 12 more were hurt. Investigators say while it was gang-related, several of those who died were innocent bystanders. D'Andre Martin and Matula Payton, who have pleaded not guilty, face murder and weapons charges. The third suspect, Smiley Martin, died in jail in 2024. The coroner ruled his death methadone toxicity. After years of delays, the trial finally started today, and ABC10 was there. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Laura Painter. Opening arguments were today for the 2 surviving men accused in the deadly mass shooting. Families of the victims tell ABC10 being in court today felt like reliving the entire trauma of that day. ABC10's Roxanne Elias joins us live from the Sacramento County Courthouse right now. Roxanne, tell us what happened inside the courtroom today.
Well, Laura, today really sets the stage for how the prosecution and the defense will continue and lead this trial throughout the entire time that we will be here at the courthouse. Now, on the defense side, we're hearing one thing, but then the prosecutors are saying that this violence had to do with gang violence and multiple shooters were involved. But the defense says that this story is much more complicated than that.
The purpose of an opening statement is to give you an overview.
The prosecution and the lawyers for the defense delivered 3 very different opening statements in the trial of Sacramento's deadliest mass shooting. Deputy District Attorney Brad Inn speaking for the victims.
Just over 4 years ago, on April the 3rd of 22, at 2 o'clock in the morning, these 2 defendants, Matula Payton and D'Andre Martin, were involved in a gang-motivated confrontation at 10th and K.
He says the conflict escalated, guns were displayed, and that this is not a case of self-defense like the defendants are arguing. Instead, it was a standoff between 2 groups of men from different gangs at the corner of 10th and K Street. Inn says that during the course of the trial, videos from the scene will be broken down to show this.
So when you look at all the evidence, you will be left with one clear, reasonable conclusion that these 2 defendants are guilty of 3 counts of murder beyond a reasonable doubt.
But Matula Payton's attorney, Reed Kingsbury, told jurors that the scenario is a more complicated story. He says Payton and Devontae Turner were in downtown to meet girls, and that Payton and Sergio Harris arrived separately, and Payton only knew him through reputation. He also says Smiley Martin and Joshua Hoy were there, 2 men who grew up with Payton.
The evidence will show that they are not gang rivals to Mr. Payton. They are not on opposite sides of a gang war. Rather, they are childhood friends. They grew up in the same 29th Street neighborhood, and they haven't seen each other in a number of years.
D'Andre Martin's attorney, Linda Parisi, took the stand last, stating the real evidence is about the chaos that erupted in a short period of time, pointing the finger directly at Sergio Harris, who she says started this all out of the blue on his own, and that Martin was only shooting back in fear.
The evidence is going to show an individual, Sergio Harris. He's not here. He was killed in the event. He's a very violent man with a very quick temper, the one who ignited this entire event.
The family of Yamile Martinez Andrade was present throughout the entire time here. They had to see some of the graphic things that were shown in video photos. They tell me that was very difficult to witness today, but they say they are ready to hear the end of this, no matter if the jury does sentence them or finds them guilty or not. They just want all of this to be over. Now, the hearing and the trial will start back up tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm live in downtown Sacramento. Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
Yeah, Roxanne, we know this has been such a heartbreaking time for all of the families involved. We will be following this trial closely every step of the way. Roxanne, thank you for the update. If you missed opening statements, you can watch them now on our free ABC10 TV streaming app. The trial is expected to last for weeks, and we will continue tracking every development and bring you the latest on air and online on our free ABC10 app. Tonight, a person accused in a deadly stabbing in Doco in early March sits behind bars. Sacramento police say 19-year-old Humberto Palacios was arrested this week on homicide charges. That stabbing happened near Golden One Center, where 21-year-old Dustin DeWitt was killed and another woman was hurt. ABC 10's Garshpal Sangha joins us live outside the Sacramento County Main Jail, where the suspect is being held as we speak. Garshpal, the victim's family says this is just the beginning.
Yeah, Laura, that suspect does not have bail, and he sits behind those doors. Now, for the victim's family, this arrest brings some relief, but also reopening wounds.
He's never gonna come back.
Nearly 2 months later, the people who love Dustin DeWitt are still learning how to live without him.
We honestly feel broken.
I'm just so broken and just so shattered.
And that pain hasn't eased with time or the news of the arrest. Sacramento police say 19-year-old Humberto Palacios killed DeWitt in the deadly stabbing in early March in Doco.
I do feel a little sense of relief this morning, but it's just been a roller coaster of emotions. It's just been hell. It's the perfect.
DeWitt's mother, Soka Hem, says every day since March 2nd has been filled with grief, trauma, and a painful reality.
I have to cancel or close his accounts. It's like canceling his life, canceling his plans, his dreams, his future. How do you live? How do you go on, with this pain, with this void,
His room untouched, his absence constant.
I don't know.
A future that once included school, work, and a plan to become a flight attendant. A life, family says, was defined by kindness.
He's my baby, who does that? It's just not fair. It's just not fair. And then
For his stepfather, the arrest marks a turning point, but not an end.
For the first time in a long time, the sky was a little bit brighter today.
While one major question has been answered, others remain to be pieced together.
No one deserved to be stabbed and killed just because of, differences in words.
This is the first step in getting justice.
And so the family is thanking law enforcement, also the community, for their help during this ordeal. Now, investigators say their investigation is not done. Again, that suspect remains in jail, will make his first court appearance tomorrow afternoon. Reporting live from the Sacramento County Main Jail in downtown Sacramento, Garshpal Sangha, ABC 10.
And just so heartbreaking for that family, Garshpal. Keep us posted and updated as you learn more. Thank you. A bill to narrow the eligibility for California's mental health diversion program faced lengthy debate this morning in the Senate Public Safety Committee. We're still waiting on the vote count to determine if the bill will continue moving through the legislature. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh has the breakdown of the debate tonight. Jenny.
Like you said, Laura, we're still waiting to see if the bill will or will not be advancing. But defendants granted mental health diversion have their charges dismissed and records sealed, which some legislators say are being misused by bad actors.
That if you commit the most serious, violent crimes, diversion is not an option, especially if they're against children.
The bipartisan Senate Bill 1373 aims to make violent repeat offenders ineligible for pretrial mental health diversion, a state program that allows defendants with mental health disorders to receive treatment rather than jail time. Currently, those charged with murder or manslaughter, as well as serious sex offenses, are not eligible for diversion. But bill author Republican State Senator Shannon Grove says more guardrails, like more discretion for judges, are needed.
The system is being used by violent and repeat offenders to avoid accountability, and people are paying the price as victims.
This bill is aimed at people that have learned how to game the system.
Grove's bill adds human trafficking and child abuse to the ineligible list, similar to Democratic Assemblymember Stephanie Nguyen's AB 46, which seeks to give judges more authority to deny diversion when public safety is a concern. AB 46 would also require the defendant to have a diagnosis within 5 years before the alleged offense. Both Grove and Nguyen say they support each other's efforts.
Mental health treatment matters, but details also matter.
Mental health disorders should never be exploited as a legal pretext.
And then everything is simply erased and they can go on to work in a daycare, to coach Little League, and so on. Is really beyond the pale.
Mixed reaction during Tuesday's committee hearing.
Max Perry on behalf of the California Police Chief Association, also in support.
Malik Bynum on behalf of the County Behavioral Health Directors Association in respectful opposition.
Democratic State Senator Dave Cortese opposing, saying California lacks mental health resources as is.
So that is the broken problem. It's not that mental health treatment doesn't work. It's that we put people in jail instead of giving them mental health treatment.
Because it both supports defendants, but it protects victims and the public from future criminality.
We asked the governor to weigh in, like if he agrees there are loopholes in the diversion program. His office declined to comment on pending legislation. Mental health diversion was signed into law in 2018 by former Governor Jerry Brown.
Those survivors did not get a clean record. Second chances should never come at the expense of a victim.
Now, there are also multiple efforts to reform California's elderly parole law, which allows inmates at least 50 years old and who have served at least 20 years to become eligible for parole, following the recent early releases of two serial sex offenders, David Allen Funston and Gregory Vogel, saying legislators are working to make totally ineligible or raise the age of eligibility for certain crimes. Laura.
All right, Jenny, thank you. Well, the June primary election is now just 6 weeks away, and this little guy is probably already popping up in your mailbox. This is the voter information guide. And look, we had a viewer reach out to our team asking why a candidate, Tom Steyer, does not have a candidate statement. So our team was wondering the same question. So I want to bring in ABC10's Jeannie Nguyen because this is something we really wanted to look into. And our team actually learned a lot along the way that we didn't know. So hopefully you find this story just as interesting as we did. Jeannie, what can you tell us about this?
Alex, I think you'll notice that there are multiple gubernatorial candidates that don't have a candidate statement there in that voter guide. And what we discovered is that it's actually optional to have a statement. So if you choose to have one, well, you got to read the fine print.
As the June primary election approaches, state and county officials are prepping the necessary materials to send to voters.
Voters in Sacramento County should be receiving, unless they elect to receive one of them online, two separate voter information guides in the mail. One comes from us with all the local election information, and another comes from the state with statewide information.
Now, this here is the official voter information guide for statewide offices for the upcoming primary election. You can see that all the candidates are listed in here, but not all of them have their candidate information statements. And the Secretary of State's office says there is a reason for that.
There are voluntary campaign spending limits for certain offices that candidates cannot exceed if they want to have a statement in the guide. Gubernatorial candidates must not spend more than $11,767 for the primary and stay under $19,611 for the general election. Those who accept these terms are allowed to purchase a candidate summary for the voter guide. Legislative analyst Chris McCaley says the U.S. Supreme Court ruled spending limits are a violation of the First Amendment's freedom of speech.
So all they can do is make those spending limits voluntary. And so one incentive to accept it is inclusion of that statement in the ballot guide that goes to every registered voter.
It's also not cheap to have a candidate statement. According to the Secretary of State candidate statement guidelines, statements for the primary election is $25 per word for up to 250 words. Even though all candidates running for governor do appear listed in the guide, McKaylee says it's up to the voter to do the extra research.
Voters will want to look at the individual candidates' websites, and they have not only thorough information about the candidate's background, but most of them have policy statements and even specific positions on different public policy issues facing California's voters.
And the state is in the process of mailing out voter guides. In Sacramento County, officials will start mailing out the guides starting this Friday, Alex.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. And we do want to give you some key election dates to keep in mind. You might actually want to take a photo of this. On May 4th, vote-by-mail ballots will be sent to registered voters. Early voting sites will also open on this date. May 18th is the last day to register to vote for the primary election. Between May 19th and June 2nd, voters can conditionally register and vote a provisional ballot. Election day is Tuesday, June 2nd. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Now to state matters, Uber is back at the spotlight, pushing a new ballot measure ahead of the 2026 midterms. It's facing strong pushback, with a rival measure now likely headed to voters. ABC 10's Jenny Huh breaking it down for us this afternoon.
Well, Monica, there were 3 countermeasures at first, all aimed at Uber's plan to cap attorney fees in auto accident cases. Now it's down to one that is focused on protecting sexual assault victims.
California voters stand ready and willing to protect survivors of sexual assault.
Implementing the strongest background checks, real safety measures, and real transparency when harm happens on the app.
Supporters rallied at the Capitol Thursday for a ballot measure that would require Uber to follow the same safety standards as taxis, buses, and trains, and hold the company more accountable in sexual assault cases.
They're relying on an app, a business, a system that has promised them safety. Something feels off. The driver maybe doesn't match the photo, the route changes.
The group Alliance Against Corporate Abuse is behind the measure, which is a direct counter-effort to an initiative backed by rideshare company Uber and the group A More Affordable California. A spokesperson for the opposition says in part, quote, "This ballot measure is a cynical ploy by billboard lawyers to defeat a separate Uber-backed ballot measure that would ban predatory schemes targeting auto accident victims."
Attorneys made more than $1 billion while local taxpayers got screwed. Every 8 minutes, Uber tries to silence victims.
Those are ads from the 2 competing sides. Uber is pushing the Preventing Accident Victims from Self-Dealing Attorneys Act. Supporters say their goal of capping attorney fees at 25% would help accident victims and reduce costs for consumers. But Alliance Against Corporate Abuse argues Uber would make it harder for accident victims to sue the company.
Because Uber's interest is in keeping as many drivers on the road as possible at all times, no matter how unsafe they are, because it maximizes profits.
They've had a huge overreach, and what we're trying to do is something that's actually quite targeted. We're actually going after a problem they know they have, which the New York Times uncovered, which is every 8 minutes. When you have a sexual assault and you're getting that reported to you, you need to do something about it.
We asked Uber about the safety aspect. A spokesperson directed us to their website, which breaks down their background check process, identity verification, driving record, and criminal history. Uber also says applicants can be rejected for various offenses, including sexual assault, sex crimes involving minors, murder, and kidnapping. And voters will get to weigh in on both measures should they qualify to be on the November 2026 ballot.
And this all comes as Uber was just ordered by a federal jury in North Carolina to pay a woman who says she was sexually assaulted during a ride. And in February, another jury in Arizona reached a similar verdict. The company faces thousands of similar claims. Walt, Monica.
All right. Thanks, Jenny.
In tonight's Dollars and Cents. Many of you are sharing your concerns about your 401ks and investments as the war in Iran continues. Rising oil prices and market volatility are increasing costs and impacting retirement savings. I talked one-on-one with a local financial advisor who says this volatility may feel scary, but don't worry, it's not unusual.
market pullbacks typically are temporary.
Many of you may be rethinking your retirement plan due to the Iran war and the resulting increases in oil prices, market volatility, and rising costs. But Joseph Estelman, the president of Tower Point Wealth, says markets don't move in straight lines, and what we're seeing now is a reset, not a collapse.
And this is the best time to be adding to a retirement account or a 401k plan. May not feel like it, but when we're seeing a decline in the market, that means prices are cheaper.
Eshelman says when markets dip, retirement accounts usually dip too. While these dips are painful, he says these temporary losses are only on paper unless money is withdrawn.
Explain for us some of the concerns that retirees, people who are using their 401k money right now, what problems are they experiencing?
If I'm taking a withdrawal during a downturn, that could be locking in a loss during that downturn. And it does trigger that fear of, am I going to run out of money?
Eshelman says retirees don't need to panic, but they do need to plan. He recommends maintaining a cash buffer worth 12 to 24 months of withdrawals.
What that does is it allows those individuals to continue to take their monthly withdrawals, but they're not forced to sell stocks during a temporary downturn.
Eshelman also says you might want to revisit your asset allocation. You may need a more conservative mix. On the other hand, if you're still contributing to your 401k, Eshelman says stay disciplined. Don't try to time the market. Consider increasing your contributions and get an employer match if possible. And think longer term, like 5 to 10 years down the road. Stream all of our Dollars and Cents coverage now on the free ABC10 app. Email me your money questions at lpainter@abc10.com. Tonight, people took part in 420. A day for many to celebrate cannabis culture. In Sacramento, the conversation isn't just about lighting up, it's about where you can legally do it. ABC10's Garshpal Sangha joins us in studio now as Sacramento moves closer to a decision on legalizing cannabis lounges. Garshpal.
Yeah, Laura, while cannabis lounges are legal under state law, the city of Sacramento is still in a holding pattern, trying to figure out exactly how they would work here. On a day where many are lighting up for 420, the future of cannabis lounges in Sacramento remains unlit.
This is about 1,470 square feet. I think 1,500 is the maximum Sacramento will allow.
It is a room Crystal Nugs owner Maisha Bahati has taken us to before, almost a year and a half ago. Today, it is still empty.
Feeling pretty good about this third time that it's going to hopefully push through.
Cannabis lounges, think Amsterdam-style cafes where customers can legally consume on site. They're allowed in California and already operating in cities like San Francisco and Oakland. But Sacramento city leaders still haven't finalized the rules.
HVAC is going to be the heartbeat of this and assuring that, there's no smoke that's going to be leaving this building.
Bahati says plans now focus heavily on safety for both customers and employees.
We're going to be building it out, adding sprinklers. Don't want employees necessarily directly in the line of smoke.
Supporters say lounges could offer a safe, regulated space, especially for those who can't consume at home.
Yeah, it'd be nice for him to be able to go in and sit down somewhere rather than have to be outside all the time.
I know that there's a lot of argument against, people being intoxicated in public and that type of thing, but look at bars. So I think that it's an opportunity that the city could benefit from.
But not everyone is on board, with public health advocates raising concerns about safety and youth exposure.
Armed guards are also a legitimate concern. It is outrageous to downplay the risk. If a business requires guns on site, then it has no business being placed near children, period.
For Bahati, after years of planning, the wait continues. But she says the industry and the proposal have evolved.
I think that we have kind of come to a middle ground.
And so I asked the city for comment, but they did not get back to me. Now, Bahati tells me she's now hearing that this could finally move forward and go in front of the Sacramento City Council as soon as next Tuesday. And a council member tells me tonight that he's hoping that is the case as well. Laura.
Yeah, keep us posted as you learn more, Garshpal. Sounds like there are still a lot of moving parts with this. Thank you. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom's office marked nearly a decade since Prop 64, the voter-approved measure that legalized marijuana for adults and reduced related criminal penalties. Officials say more than 215,000 cannabis convictions have been cleared and more than $1 billion in illegal activity has been disrupted. The state has also collected more than $7 billion in tax revenue. The governor's office adds they've worked to stabilize the legal market, including delaying a tax increase amid concerns from business owners.
Though it was designed to be straight and efficient, much of California's Interstate 5 is quite frankly boring, especially the stretch of road between Sacramento and Los Angeles, with its long stretches of land with not a whole lot to look at. There is, however, one I-5 landmark in Kettleman City that is getting rave reviews on Google Maps. It's called Poli, with 3 E's.
A truly inspirational experience. We found religion in the Poli and became our truest form.
We were graced by the Poli's presence on a road trip from LA to Seattle. If only we could spend the whole day basking in its glory, embracing its divine power.
My car broke down on the side of the road, and when I looked up, I saw the beautiful sacred site of the Poli. My soul was touched by its beauty.
Poli's not an easy or safe roadside attraction to visit. There's no sign, there's a fence in the way, and the parking is on the side of the freeway. Well, according to our drone's altimeter, Poli is about 50 feet tall, seemingly hollow inside. That white and red paint there is a stark contrast to the surrounding area, which is probably why so many people see it. But the question remains, what is it? To be honest, I sat on this story for several months without an answer. That is, until I got a hold of Tacey Prinz Woodleaf, the person who created the pin drop of Poli on Google Maps.
And it wasn't even my idea to make this like an interactive thing when I first did it, but it's just this serendipitous thing that happened, and that's why I think it's so cool.
Tacey is a Bay Area artist who now lives in Los Angeles, but in high school, Tacey's family would often commute down the boring stretch of I-5 right past Poli.
This was me in high school. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I put that as a place on Google Maps?
It was Tacey's high school mind that came up with the name Poli, and over the years, people started leaving reviews on the location. Google Maps did remove it a few times, but Tacey or someone else would always repost it with a different spelling or different information until eventually it became a permanent landmark. But there's still one unanswered question. What is Poli?
I really have no idea.
All right, to get down to the bottom of this investigation, I reached out to the West Side Water Authority. They manage the agriculture irrigation in the area, and according to them, Poli is a vent pipe for irrigation. For those who have not traveled I-5, Poli may not look like a magnificent, eye-catching landmark, but for those who have experienced this boring stretch of road, Poli is a picture-perfect pit stop. From the Poli, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
Thank you for watching ABC 10 this week. We're here 24/7 on the free ABC 10 TV streaming app. You can get your local news and weather anytime, anywhere. I'm Walt Gray. Take care. We'll see you next time.
And remember, the ABC 10 Weather Impact team is always here for you 24/7. Get the latest conditions anytime with our live 24/7 radar on our free TV streaming app. Just scan the QR code for easy instructions to download the ABC 10 app wherever you stream ABC 10.